Okay, let's start with a little self-audit. I want you to think about the last time you had to make a really big decision. Maybe it was a career pivot, a move to a new city, or, committing to a new relationship. What was the very first thing you did?
I can tell you what I usually do. I open a spreadsheet.
Exactly.
I look for the data.
You look for the roadmap. We are trained, practically from birth, to ask the strategic questions first. What's the ROI?
Right.
What's the 5-year plan?
Right.
If I say yes to this, where exactly will I be in 6 months?
Right.
Is there a promotion track?
Yeah.
An exit strategy?
It's the modern condition, isn't it? We are obsessed with clarity. We feel like we need to see the destination and all the stops along the way before we're willing to even put the key in the ignition.
It's what the sources we're looking at today call assignment before availability.
Yes.
Show me the contract, let me read the fine print, check the benefits, and then maybe, if the math works out, I'll sign my name.
But we have a stack of sources today that suggest this entire way of operating is, well, it's backwards. At least if you're looking at it through a biblical or theological lens.
It completely flips the script.
It does. We're diving into a concept today that suggests the answer, the yes, has to come before you even know what the question is.
Which, to be honest, sounds absolutely terrifying to the modern mind. We love control.
We do. But the sources argue that this surrender of control is the only way the system actually, works.
So today we are doing a deep dive into what we're calling the Hineni principle. We're going to explore why your availability might matter more than your ability, why silence is actually a teacher, and, well, how to cultivate a posture of yes in a world that is obsessed with what's in it for me.
I'm ready. It's a heavy topic, but I think a really freeing one.
Let's get into it. So everything today hinges on this one single ancient Hebrew word, Hineni. Now, if I just pull up a standard translation on Google, it just says, here I am.
Which, let's be honest, sounds a bit polite. A little sterile. It sounds like you're answering roll call in homeroom.
Present. Yeah, exactly. It sounds like you're just sharing your GPS coordinates. I'm currently in the kitchen. But the sources are just screaming that this is way, way more than that.
Oh, it carries massive weight. In the Hebrew text, Hineni isn't spatial, it's relational. It translates much closer to behold me.
Behold me. That's intense.
It is. It's a statement of total undivided presence, a relational offering of the self.
So when a character in the Bible says Hineni, they aren't just saying, I'm here.
No, they're saying, I am fully present, my ears are open, my will is engaged, and I am ready for whatever you are about to say. It's an exposure of the self to the other.
And here is the crucial part, the part that makes us modern strategists sweat. In the biblical narrative, Hineni is the answer given before the person knows what they're signing up for.
That is the tension right there.
Yeah.
We want to know the what before we commit to the who.
Yeah.
We want the task so we can decide if we even have the competence for it.
But the text suggests that God isn't looking for a consultant to review the strategy first.
No, he isn't looking for a logistical solution. The sources say he's looking for a relational summons. He calls a name, and he waits. And only after the answer does the assignment come.
This is where it gets really interesting to me, because when you look at the heavy hitters in the text, Abraham, Moses, Isaiah, this pattern is just everywhere. It's almost like a secret code.
It is a recurring pattern, and once you see it, you really can't unsee it. God rarely begins with an explanation. He begins with a name.
Take Abraham.
Right, Abraham. God calls his name. Abraham says, Hineni. And at that specific moment, Abraham has absolutely no idea what comes next.
And what came next wasn't exactly a walk in the park.
No. That, yes, eventually led him up a mountain with his son Isaac, facing the most impossible test of his life. He didn't know the cost when he said the word.
You just knew who was calling.
He just knew who was calling. Or look at Moses. I mean, talk about a guy who was not looking for a career change.
I know, he's hiding out in the desert, minding his own business.
Right. Moses is at the burning bush. He answers the call, here I am, before he understands the scope of confronting Pharaoh or leading 1 million people through a wilderness.
Oh, if God had led with the job description, Moses would have run the other way.
Of course.
Wanted. Man to yell at a global superpower and then wander in the desert for 40 years.
Yeah.
I'd pass on that LinkedIn notification.
Exactly. And Isaiah is another dramatic example. He has this vision and he just answers, here I am, send me. He volunteers before he realizes the sheer weight of the prophetic message he has to carry.
To a people who, the text says, won't even listen to him.
Right.
Okay, but I have to play devil's advocate here. Because to a modern ear, saying yes before you know the details,
Yeah.
isn't that just Reckless or, blind obedience?
It's the natural objection.
It sounds like signing a blank check to a stranger.
And it's a fair one. If this were a business transaction, you'd be absolutely right. You should never sign a blank check for a corporation. But the source makes a critical distinction here. This isn't blind obedience. It's what they call long obedience.
Long obedience. Unpack that for us.
Well, take Abraham again. His Hineni wasn't a gamble on a random voice he heard in the wind.
No.
It was based on a relationship of trust built over decades. It's not saying, I'll do whatever reckless thing you want. It's saying, I trust the who so much that I don't need to know the what yet.
So it's a relational exchange, not a business deal.
Precisely. The source has this fantastic line. Before God entrusts direction, he searches for disposition.
Disposition before direction. I like that.
He isn't looking for your resume, he's looking for your posture.
It's about where your heart is facing. But let's pivot to the other side of this coin, because the sources draw this really sharp contrast between being available and just being useful. And honestly, this part hit me hard. We all want to be useful, right? Competent. We want to be the person who gets the job done.
Of course. We want to be high value. We optimize our lives for effectiveness. But the source discusses this trap of instrumentalized spirituality.
That's a heavy term. What does that actually look like?
It basically means we treat our relationship with God, or even our own lives, as a means to an end. We want to be used by God because it makes us feel valuable or productive.
So we measure our spiritual health by our output.
Yes. Look at what I built. Look at how many people I helped. Look at my impact.
The God is a career booster mentality.
In a way, yes. And the case study here is the contrast between King Saul and King David. This was fascinating to me because on paper, Saul is the dream candidate.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
If you're casting a movie about a king, you cast Saul. He's the guy.
He's tall, he's handsome, he's strategic, he looks like leadership material. He is undeniably useful. But if you look at the text, he's constantly negotiating. He prioritizes results over obedience. He's always tweaking the plan to make it better or more efficient.
Right. He offers the sacrifice himself because the prophet is running late. He spares the best livestock when he was told not to.
Exactly. He was, as the source puts it, technically willing but existentially unavailable.
Wow. Technically willing, but existentially unavailable. That is going to stick with me. That describes so many of us.
It does. We show up, but we keep our options open. We want to serve God, but on our own terms.
Contrast that with David.
Yeah. When we first meet David, he's not leading armies. He's not in the war room.
He's tending sheep. He's essentially invisible. He wasn't even invited to the meeting when the prophet came to town.
Exactly. His own father didn't think he was worth fetching from the field, but he was available. He wasn't trying to be useful to some grand strategy. He was just walking with God. He had a posture of Hineni long before he ever saw a crown.
And that leads to this massive insight about burnout. The source suggests burnout often comes not just from doing too much, but from the wrong posture.
This is a huge shift for high achievers. We usually think burnout is just a resource management problem. I spent too much energy, I need a nap.
Right, which is true sometimes.
Sure, rest is important, but the source argues that spiritual burnout often comes when we prioritize being used by God. The focus on performance, output, impact over simply walking with God.
So if my whole identity is wrapped up in being the useful tool, I'm setting myself up to crash.
Yes, because tools wear out. Tools are discarded when they break or become obsolete. But partners in a relationship are sustained. If you're constantly asking, how can I be more effective? Instead of, am I present? You're operating out of your own supply.
Hineni is the antidote to that.
It is, because it shifts the focus from your ability to your availability. It's saying, I don't have to be the hero, I just have to be here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the hard part, because saying Hineni sounds romantic when we talk about it like this. But sometimes you say it, you offer yourself up, and then crickets. Nothing happens. You're just waiting.
The crucible of silence. This is where the rubber really meets the road.
Wow.
It's easy to say, here I am, when the burning bush is right there and the adventure is about to start.
Much harder when you say it and then sit in obscurity for 10 years.
So why does that happen? If God wants availability and we give it, why the delay? Why leave us in the waiting room?
I mean, what's going on there?
The source argues that silence isn't absence. Silence is pedagogy.
It's teaching.
It's teaching. It teaches us to decouple our obedience from the thrill of the assignment. God withholds the assignment to test the availability.
Oh, that's good.
If the task is revealed too early, our obedience can easily become about the task itself, our ambition, our excitement for the project, our desire to be seen.
We fall in love with the mission instead of the commander.
Exactly. The silence purifies the motive. It forces us to ask, am I here for the assignment or am I here for you? If I never get the microphone, if I never get the platform, is just being here enough?
The sources bring up some powerful examples of this boring faithfulness. We think of Jesus' ministry as the miracles and crowds. We focus on the last 3 years.
And we forget the 30 years in Nazareth.
30 years. That's the vast majority of his life on earth. And it was spent in total obscurity. Just carpentry, family life, paying bills. From the outside, it looked like nothing was happening.
But the source is arguing that wasn't wasted time, not a second of it. That was the formation of Hineni. Or look at Joseph in the Old Testament. Years in an Egyptian prison for a crime he didn't commit.
He didn't know he was going to rule Egypt one day.
No, he just had to maintain his integrity in the dark.
Integrity in the dark. That's the phrase that stood out to me.
It's crucial. The source points out that Joseph resisting Potiphar's wife or managing the prison faithfully, those weren't side quests. That was the training. There's a quote I wrote down from the notes. The seemingly insignificant acts of today are the hidden architecture of tomorrow's Hineni.
Hidden architecture.
Yeah.
I love that. You can't stand before Pharaoh and save the world if you haven't learned to stand before God in the dark when no one is clapping.
It's the obedience in small things.
Right. We want the TED Talk moment, but we skip the don't gossip at the water cooler moment. And that brings us to the danger of conditional faith. This is the modern trap.
Yes.
We're conditioned to negotiate. We have what the source calls hidden clauses in our contracts with God.
Oh, totally. We all have them. I'll go anywhere, Lord, as long as it's within a manageable commute and the schools are good.
Or I'll speak up for truth as long as it doesn't get me canceled on Twitter.
It's the yes, but problem. The source suggests we need to audit your clauses. We have to actually look at where we're resisting. Is it comfort? Is it control? Reputation? Because Hineni, by definition, has no clauses. You can't say, here I am if.
And the ultimate example of this unconditional yes,
Yeah.
the sources point to Mary, the mother of Jesus.
It really is the pinnacle of the concept. Think about her situation. She had zero leverage, young, poor, no social power. And the assignment, becoming pregnant outside of wedlock in that culture.
It carried a massive social risk. I mean, we gloss over it in Christmas pageants, but she literally could have been killed.
Correct. Ostracized for life, at the very least. It could have cost her everything. And yet, her response wasn't a negotiation. It wasn't, can we spin this differently?
Or can I see the PR plan?
Right. Her Hineni was, let it be to me according to your word.
Availability without authority.
That's the phrase. She didn't demand to be in charge of the plan. She just agreed to carry it. She trusted the author of the story more than she feared the plot twist.
That is terrifying and beautiful at the same time. So let's pivot to application. What does this all mean for us? Because most of us aren't being asked to lead a nation or birth a Messiah.
At least not today.
At least not today. How do we actually become Hineni people in our actual lives?
It moves from a mindset to a practice. The source is very practical here. It suggests creating a personal availability covenant.
Which sounds like a legal document, but I gather it's not.
No. Think of it more as a structured intent. It's about identifying where you're resisting and consciously offering that up. But the most actionable piece is the 30-day rhythm.
I love a good challenge. Break it down for us.
It's surprisingly simple. It starts in the morning. Before you check your email, before the news, before you let the world tell you what to panic about, you simply say, hey, Mean.
You orient your day. You tell God, I am here. So before the world assigns you your tasks for the day, you answer to God first.
Exactly. You establish who you report to. Then at midday, you pause. And you ask a hard question. Where am I resisting? You check your spiritual pulse. Are you annoyed? Trying to seize control? Anxious about the future? It's a mindfulness check, but with a vertical alignment.
And then in the evening,
You reflect. Where did I obey? Where did I delay? Where did I try to take the pen back from the author?
it's about building a reflex.
That's the key word, reflex. The source says the goal is habitual attentiveness. You're training your spiritual muscle memory so that when the big call comes, the one that requires courage or sacrifice, your answer is already yes.
You don't have to agonize over it because you've been saying, here I am in the small things for years.
You don't. It's also about changing the way we pray. The source mentions a specific covenant prayer.
And what's that like?
It's a beautiful prayer. One of the key lines is, I offer you my availability before my ability. Send me when you choose. It completely detaches our worth from our skills and attaches it to our willingness.
That is so freeing, though, because my ability fluctuates. Some days I feel capable, some days I feel like a total mess.
Right.
Some days I feel like I have nothing to offer, but my availability, I can always offer that. Even if I'm tired, even if I'm confused, I can still be available.
And that is often all God is waiting for. We think he needs our strength. The source implies he mostly just needs our consent. He needs access to our lives.
So, as we wrap this up, let's zoom out. We started with the idea that we're all looking for the map. We want the strategy, but we've landed on something much simpler and much harder.
We have. We've landed on the idea that history turns not on human strategy, but on human willingness.
Yeah.
If you look at the broad sweep of the story, from Abraham to Mary to the early church, God didn't need their ability. He often chose people who lacked ability.
Right.
What he needed and what he waited for was their availability.
It really puts the ball in our court in a different way. It's not go do big things. It's stay present.
And that leads to the final haunting question the source leaves us with. It's a question that has been sticking with me all week.
What is it?
The question that lingers is not whether God still calls, but whether we are still listening.
That's the mic drop right there.
It brings it all home. If God called your name right now, without telling you where he was sending you, without telling you what it would cost, without showing you the 5-year plan, would your reflex be to ask for the contract? Or would you simply say, Hineni?
It's a question that demands an answer, not just in our heads, but with our lives. Listeners, we hope this deep dive gave you something to chew on. Maybe the most strategic move you can make today isn't to do more, but to simply say, here I am. Thanks for diving in with us.
Always a pleasure.
We'll catch you on the next deep dive.